And we are live via Tokyo, of all places.
Hello, Tokyo.
Hello, Tokyo.
Alright, I don't know why it chose to go live via Tokyo, but it did. And
Probably
Okay.
my song in the first episode.
possibly, but it didn't stop it in the second. So, anyways, everyone, welcome To Be Named Later. This is episode 2, now known as Screeching Weasel Inferno.
Yes.
I was supposed to have named the previous episode that, but I clearly forgot. So let's explain why it's called Screeching Weasel Inferno. Um, about 2 weeks ago, I was driving past a famous club here in Portland called the Crystal Ballroom, and I happened to look up at their marquee and saw what was coming up in terms of shows. And literally, the first one I saw was Screeching Weasel, followed immediately by Inferno something or other. And I thought Screeching Weasel Inferno had to be the most awesome show I could ever imagine. And thus, it is the name of our episode. Because we have high hopes and aspirations. So, in terms of this week, it has been crazy. We're going to go ahead and start off by talking about the GOG and Steam sale.
Oh God.
And
hmm
I'm going to go ahead and start off with Mouse since he's always introduced last. So, Mouse,
Hello, everybody. I am Mouse Marygist, and I know who put the ram in a ramalama ding dong. On this
who
particular
put the
Steam
ding
sale,
dong in it?
you don't want to know. I'm not clear to share that information, but
Okay.
on this particular Steam sale, I was sorely tempted to basically hear my wallet screaming like a little schoolgirl, but I showed a great deal of restraint and only bought a few games that I felt that I had been looking at, lusting after for a while. And so for my Steam sale, I bought Hand of Fate, which is a really cool concept. It's basically an RPG that you play with cards. It's kind of like a solitaire thing. It's not really a solitaire thing. Basically, events happen randomly based on the cards that are laid out by the dealer, and so any fights, any events, any traps, any encounters basically happen because of the order of the cards, and you have to defeat a certain number of avatars that he has, like the Queen of Dust, the Jack of Plague, etc. It's a really cool game. Second is Valkyria Chronicles, which is a really cool turn-based strategy game from Japan. It's an alternate history, which takes place during the World War, the Great World War, and it's really a lot of fun. I haven't played a lot of it yet because I've been sucked away by Hand of Fate, but I plan on reporting how cool it is. Furthermore, and I have the last one is Serpent in the Staglands, which is kind of like a 16-bit. Well, it's kind of like a throwback to the early years of role-playing games in the Atari 1040 ST PC, one of those games. But it's the scope is basically of a modern RPG, so it's a bit of a throwback element, a bit of new stuff, and it's really, really quite fascinating. This was one of the games that was kickstarted a year or so ago, and it's one of the games that, again, the project has ended. It's been launched, and it has been a success.
CC, you want to talk about yours?
Yeah. So I actually bought more gifts than I actually bought games for me, and but like I bought Game of Thrones for someone who really wanted it, things like that. But for me, I actually bought The Witcher 1 and 2 because I am the failure who's never actually played either of them. I used to have a MacBook, and so everything that I had to be able to run on a particular Windows emulator on my Mac. And so things like The Witcher were just too complicated for it to really handle. I did a lot of
Mm-hmm.
things like real-time strategy games because I could pause the game and let things sort themselves out. But things like The Witcher absolutely would not have worked. So I'm really excited that I get to play this and things like that. I was also gifted Small World 2.
Yay!
It's based off of the board game is Small World. And so this is basically the digital version of that board game, and it's two because I guess it's the sequel to the original
And it's
board game.
hard.
It is crazy hard. I know a lot of people who love it and a lot of people who absolutely hate it because they cannot win. So yeah.
I love it. I can't win worth crap, but I love it.
Yeah, exactly. So
I,
it's a lot of fun. I love a good challenge, and I will quite happily play Magic the Gathering against a computer that's way better than me, and just lose repeatedly, and I'll be perfectly happy because I feel
Yay.
like I've learned something.
and CC, you wanted to make a correction to last week's episode.
Yes,
Yes.
I said that the WoW patch drop was this past Tuesday. It's actually this next Tuesday. I saw information. It said dropping Tuesday. It didn't say which Tuesday. And I was like, yeah, it must be this next Tuesday, but I didn't look into it hard enough, and it's on the 23rd. So coming up, all that WoW stuff we talked about last week.
So keep your eyes open. Now, me, yeah, I allowed my wallet to be raped and pillaged, quite honestly. I'm not going to explain what each of these games, what they happen to be. I'm just going to tell you my list because I'd be here forever. My list is Icewind Dale Enhanced Edition, Abyss Odyssey, Ori and the Blind Forest, Herald, Deus Ex Collection, Contrast, Wise 4, Wise 1 and 2 Chronicles, Wise Origin, Wise Oath of Elgana, Mind Path to Thalamus, Fire, The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, Transistor, Joe Deaver's Long Wolf,
Jesus.
or probably Lone Wolf Remastered, The Last Tinker, City of Colors, Gauntlet, Styx, Child of Light, Enslaved, um, Prototype, Massive Chalice, Saints Row the Ultimate Franchise Pack, including Gat Out of Hell, and Wolf Among Us.
This is the part where Drew tells us exactly what he does now that he has no place to live.
Like I said last time, I may not be a grad student. I'm not poor. I had enough to pay for this stuff, thank God. Not much else afterward, but yeah. So I have a lot of games to stream for you guys. Mouse was talking about Hand of Fate. If anyone ever wanted to see I think I saved it up on YouTube? I may have. I may not have. If not, I still have a copy of it somewhere. But yeah, my first experiences with Hand of Fate was quite entertaining, and
It is so much fun.
CC is not the only person to have never played Witcher 1 and 2. I never played them either.
So let me get this straight. I'm the only person in this group who has actually, well, up until recently, has played a Witcher game.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's surreal. I'm usually the last one in anything.
Okay, what was this argument we were having earlier about some game, Master of Orion or something, and you yelling at me?
Oh yeah. You've never played Master of Orion. Dear God. How about Master of Magic?
I don't even know what that is.
Oh God. I think I need my coffee.
All right. So,
He knows all these cool indie games that are
No, these are not indie games. These were like major. Okay, Master of Orion and
back
Master
when
of
these were
Magic.
produced, there were no such things as indie games. You either
Exactly.
AAA
This
or
is
not.
this were
yeah.
1992, 1995 Microprose when Microprose was the king of the world, and they had just published XCOM. Wait, I think it's Microprose. God, I hope it was Microprose. Well, anyways, these were really great turn-based strategy games. Awesome games. You can buy them at GOG.com. People out there, buy them, play them. They're good. Anyways.
That will be our magical Jedi mind trick thing for everybody.
Bye.
buy everything.
Buy
We're
all
actually
the
not
things.
getting money from GOG.com
No,
or
we
anything.
don't. We just love
We just really like to
Despite
see
our desires.
Wait. I mean, I can approach them, but I love to see old games being played and rediscovered. That's one of my passions because there's a lot of good old stuff.
Well, this week, as we were talking about, not only was the Steam and GOG sales, not only were those big, the perhaps largest announcement was E3. Not
Oh my God,
announcement, but
E3.
event. And then the various announcements that came spilling out of it. Like, oh my goodness.
Oh my God, this was
Yeah.
the best E3 in years.
And yet, stupid me, I spent my money on freaking Steam because that money could have been what sent me to E3 this year, but no, I
You
talked
had
myself
no-
out of it. So
You
clearly
had
I need
no
to do
way
it
of
next
knowing.
year.
You had no way of knowing. Last year's E3 was a huge disappointment, and the year before that was kind of bad too. So you had no idea that this was actually going to be good. I mean, we all know that Bethesda was going to do something awesome, but
Not
For
orgasmic.
Yeah, for all we knew,
Yeah.
like the rest of the developers was going to continue doing the crap that they did last year, and it would have been a failed. You would have wasted your money. Hindsight is 2020. They
Well,
actually brought their game this year.
I give my oath as much as I can to the viewers of the channel and the podcast. Next year I'm going. So
He'll be our correspondent. We'll have him
Yeah.
live on stream, and we will ask him, Drew, can you see Iwata? Can you see Iwata? Mr. Iwata,
and
a
I'll
few
hold up a
questions.
glass of water.
Yeah.
Mr.
That's all I
Iwata,
got.
Mr. Iwata!
All right. So first up, let's talk Bethesda.
Yummy.
We've already mentioned Fallout 4, but they actually had some gameplay footage and
30 minutes of gameplay. That's like, oh my god. That's
Yeah.
more than like 90% of studios out there show you at E3.
well,
Yeah.
not just that, they have a launch date, 11, 10,
Yes.
15. They came with their ball prepared.
God.
Yeah.
They dropped the mic, and not a single studio out there was able to match that.
And
Yeah.
they were like right at the beginning. I mean, they had, let's see, they've got modularity of weapons, modularity of armors. I know I was actually watching this while watching my friend's stream, and I came in and he's been playing Fallout New Vegas for months on his stream. And I logged in, I'm looking at this going, that's some interesting mod. What are we looking at? And then I realized this wasn't the mod, this was Fallout 4. And I'm like, holy crap, I might
Yeah.
have to play this. But I mean, they've got, modularity of the weapons, the armor, the demonstration of the gameplay. There are people who have already torn apart the Boston City map to tell you where everything is. They've got Fallout Shelter for the Android and iOS.
Apparently, it's super addictive.
It
Yes,
is.
the iOS drops first. It's already live, and the Android version is coming out in a month or 2 months, and everybody is giving rave reviews. There is no EA microtransactions of any kind of that you basically, I need to shell $20 so I can actually play the goddamn game. This is take note, Electronic Arts. This is how you do it.
And not only that, but for everyone who is always upset that their pets were launching themselves into the path of danger unnecessarily, your dog
Lydia!
can't die. So,
Lydia, no!
Yeah.
dog meat will be immortal from now on.
Yay!
Oh,
There,
go ahead.
there was a moment where they were talking about, and of course you're allowed to play male or female. I was like, awesome. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that if you're playing a character that you can choose how they look, what ethnicity they are, it makes perfect sense that you could choose what gender they are as well.
Pretty much.
It's like, oh yeah, we just did this too. It's like, cool. I mean, I applaud you, and it didn't seem like any kind of, oh, we're trying to appeal to female gamers. Look,
Ubisoft.
we're putting females in the game. It was like, yeah, it's an option because it makes sense.
Pretty
Like,
much.
why wouldn't we include it?
I mean, well, they've pretty much been there all along. So
Yeah.
unlike Sims, where they just rampantly rip things out that have been features forever.
Oh
Yeah.
Yeah, Sims 4, we're going to take away entire life stages that we've always supported.
Yes.
I'm not bitter at all. Not at all.
No, not at
Oh,
all.
but the Fallout Boy, the one Fallout Boy, Jesus.
Boy.
The
Fallout
Fallout
Boy is a
4,
completely
the
different thing.
Pip
the
boy.
Pip Boy.
They have in case you haven't heard, you're one of the few people on this planet. They are they've made and been selling Pip Boys that you can actually put your phone into and connect to your wrist. And that's awesome. And they were so popular, they sold out just about as like a day after they dropped. Like
Announcement.
most people hadn't even heard that they'd actually begun selling them. And Bethesda actually has acknowledged that there has been a problem where where these scalpers are going out and buying 10 and 20 and selling them on eBay for jacked up prices. So they're going to do what they can to actually fight the scalping and release their products at the price they were intended to be released at, which I think is awesome.
Take
Because
note, Nintendo.
that's been a problem, especially in the gaming industry, with these limited edition
Yeah,
things.
this is actually something Nintendo has been running into with the amiibo,
Mhm.
especially this very select special edition amiibo like the Splatoon amiibos. We've heard Jim Sterling, God thank God for
Mhm.
Jim.
We're just gonna have to make a graphic for that and flash it up.
Yes, like thank God for Jim. But that basically Nintendo has been manufacturing very limited, intentionally limited editions of specific amiibos that unlock content that is otherwise unavailable in the game. And most of these amiibos are almost impossible to get, and you have to get them through scalpers now. And there was an issue with the Splatoon amiibos that the entire the entire container that had the amiibos for England, I believe, or just England, Ireland, as well, was stolen, and there were they currently have no amiibos of that particular edition, because they were stolen, and this was reported by Laura K. Buzz, who is awesome. But yes, do not do this, game companies. And I love the fact that Bethesda has said this is a problem and we're going to address it. Nintendo has said absolutely nothing about the amiibos.
Well, did you hear about the? I forget what some fans sent something like 2,140 bottle caps to Bethesda just to
Oh
basically
yeah,
buy Fallout
Yes,
4.
yeah. I
I
saw
hope
that.
they honor that. That would be so awesome.
I think they
I
should.
They should. If frankly, if they don't, I think it would be bad press for them. They've been doing so well. Just sending a free copy of Fallout 4 to
Yeah,
this one person,
yeah.
it's gonna do nothing but make them look awesome.
Awesome.
Because the money that they would get from that is gonna be made up exponentially by people going, "Awesome! I'm gonna do Fallout things now." You know,
Yeah,
people do that.
that's how you encourage a positive feedback between your fans and your product. Like, I'm not a brownie, but this is kind of what like My Little Pony does too
Mm.
Hmm.
with their fan community. So
So we go from Fallout 4 over to what I refer to as the Quentin Tarantino Diablo aborted terrifying love child known as Doom.
ah,
That was a violence fest. Let's just put it that way. But
it's Doom.
that's what Doom is.
Exactly.
That's what it is. But I
Hmm.
mean, it's already being criticized as being too violent. Something that has been pretty much dealing with since 1993 when it first came out.
Yeah,
It's Doom.
yeah.
I,
It's Doom.
like
Get
it's
over it.
called Doom. The only other thing that I can think of that's called Doom is I am Doom. You know the Doctor Doom. So
We're
I don't know
sponsored
why
Violence
people have
Fest.
this. It's like people going, "Oh my God,
We're not.
Mortal Kombat is violent."
Well, I
Yes,
mean
it's
that's
called
the
Mortal
two sides
Kombat.
of the argument. You have the people going, "Oh my God, it's too violent," and the fact that you have an entire audience rampaging and excited about this violence. And then you have the other side going, "That's Doom."
Yeah.
These are not humans that you're blowing to
No.
bloody chunks. These are abomination creature
Yeah.
things.
The Caco demons.
Yeah, I mean,
I like saying that. Caco demon.
cacodemon,
Caco demon.
Yeah.
cacodemon. But I mean, that's Doom, and
That's Doom.
it will. It's controversy is controversy, and there is no such thing as bad press. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And there are going to be people who are going to go, "Oh, people are upset about how violent it is. I'm going to buy 3 copies." You know? Frankly,
Yeah.
I don't understand how people can seriously think that you would play something like Doom and then be like,
I'm
I
gonna
should
kill
just
everyone in the
kill
world.
everyone. Like, I don't, I know, don't get me wrong, I know a lot of stupid people, but I don't know anyone so stupid that they can't tell the difference between video games and real life.
Well, actually, there's a point, and then I keep going to Jim Sterling for this, but whatever.
Thank
There's,
God.
Thank God for Jim.
Thank
But
God for Jim.
he made a very good point concerning the claim, the bogus and uncredited claim that video games make people violent and incite them to violent acts. And he basically showed a recorded video of a live suicide. He said this is going to be very disturbing. Don't watch it if you don't want to. This is real. Um, and it was a politician who committed suicide in the middle of a press conference. Um, and he said most of the people who saw this, including people who play games, experience horrible feelings about this. They understand the difference between real violence and fictitious violence. When you play a game, when you read a book that is violent, you don't think, oh, this is real, therefore it is cool. No, you know, even no matter how freaking crazy you are, unless you've lost complete touch with reality and are having a psychotic break, which is a tiny portion of the population at any one point, you know that what you're seeing is not real. That is the reason, that is the power of play acting and fantasy, that you can do almost anything you want and it has no consequences. And you know you're doing that because you can't do it for real without having horrible consequences.
Wasn't there a German study recently done that they basically said that there is no correlation between violence in video games and propensity towards violence in those
Yeah.
who play them?
Yes.
I mean, this is obviously going to be a very controversial topic, and I mean, we could probably turn an entire episode into this. But
Yes.
I'm a firm believer that the problem isn't the game. The problem is the parental supervision that follows.
Yes,
Yes.
or lack thereof.
A person who is supervised, who is given proper outlets, and recognize when there is in fact a true emotional or mental instability and has that addressed. Those who basically say, put the children in front of the TV and say, do your thing, and then pay no attention to them from there, these are the people who are going to have the problems.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones who have no corrective balance on the backside. But those who are raised in healthy environments, and even some who aren't raised in healthy environments,
Yeah.
learn there are consequences for violence
Exactly.
or improper social behavior. Even though you get, I mean, look at me when I play my video games. Okay, I do things in video games I would never do in real life. Okay,
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No.
I'm wandering around
I
sniping people in the
anytime that-
head for crying out loud. And
I would never
Yeah.
shoot lightning at people.
Anytime that there's any kind of sexist game where they give you the option of slapping a woman, I will absolutely do it every time. I don't know why. I don't know why I do it. It's maybe there's some kind of internalized sexism
No, no,
there.
no. It's,
but I'm
it's,
like,
it's-
yeah,
You want to be Jack Nicholson in Chinatown.
yeah.
My sister, my sister, my daughter, my sister, my daughter, my sister, my daughter.
Yeah,
mean-
I don't know what it is, but and everybody knows I don't actually hit people.
I know.
Actually terrified of violence. If I see anything violent, I'm the person who just suddenly runs to the other side of the room. I saw a fight break out one time in a game store, and I didn't really realize what was happening until I realized I was on the other side of the room, cowering behind the cash register. I didn't work there.
Well,
I broke up the game
Nope.
store.
just to borrow on my recent experiences playing Thief, or as Mouse calls it, Thief, you're doing it wrong.
Doing it wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not skulking out of a church cathedral by night, sniping people in the back of the head with an arrow, or there was one point where I'm doing this, and there are two dogs. I've already killed all the guards. There are two dogs in the area, and they're barking at me, and I'm going, I feel guilty for doing this. I killed the dogs.
Did you say, and your little dog too?
No, because the guards were already
See,
dead.
you keep doing it wrong. You keep doing it wrong, for crying out loud.
Now, we should
It's
mention
not-
that there has been some evidence to support the idea that watching violent acts repeatedly can desensitize
Yes.
someone
Right.
to how horrific these actual violent acts are. But I think, and that is something to be questioned if you say have a 4-year-old. But I would never give a 4-year-old Grand Theft Auto.
No.
And I don't think the makers of Grand Theft Auto ever intended their market to be small children or anything. They expected it to be adults who know perfectly well that you can't just steal cars and run over random pedestrians.
Yes. It's just no. Just no.
Yeah. So I think if you guys want to make a bigger topic of this, just let us know. As always, if there are topics that we touch on or don't touch on that you think we should,
Tell us.
please drop a note to Mouse or to me or to whomever, and we will try and work it in. Because we want to talk about things. And I look over here because this is where you guys are on my setup. So, we want to talk about things that are important to you. So if there are things that you feel that we are leaving out or that we're not addressing, please let us know. But let's go ahead and finish off the Bethesda tour with the one I am
Yes.
just moist over, and that's Dishonored 2.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and again, it's because I'm a violent, sadistic bastard when it comes to this video game. I am, after having played Dishonored with absolutely no ghost merit whatsoever, because I killed everybody, and my favorite being the ability to summon rats to devour them, we now are getting Dishonored 2. I did not get a chance to read into too much about it, but from the gameplay I saw, it looks like there are male and female protagonists, so I'm thinking maybe it's to allow us to now choose the gender of the main character, because I know with Dishonored 1, you played only as Corvo.
Yes.
And I noticed that they've got brand new robots that look a lot less steampunk from the original series and a lot more like Clockwork and Porcelain, very much like the Doctor Who Clockwork droids. All I'm saying is, gimme, take my money.
The Dishonored 2, I was looking at this, trying to figure out the deeper differences between the male and female protagonists, and they do have slightly different play styles. They have different abilities. So I think they were creating these two builds and said, let's just make one male and one female. Why not?
Pretty much.
I see no reason not to.
And the cool thing is that you can complete the game with both protagonists. It's not different. You don't actually. Well, I'll speak about this in Ubisoft. So we'll talk about this in Ubisoft.
So that said, shall we move on then?
Let us move on.
Our next up, Squeenix.
So
Squeenix, Netherland of take my money and let's go.
let's go back to 1994, shall we? Because we're getting Final Fantasy VII Remake for the PS4. First.
I'm torn about this. I mean, it's cool to see the updated video graphics, but I had Advent Children, for crying out loud. That's really all I cared about. They also had what was it?
No! Ooh, no! You like Advent Children?
I liked Advent Children. Leave me alone.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
I wasn't playing it. I was just watching it.
Go on.
It was Advent Children, for God's sake. That's what it was. I mean, it didn't have a deep plot. It didn't barely have a plot.
Yeah, I know. Actually there's a reason why I dislike Advent Children. Very briefly, I used to be a game master at Final Fantasy VII Sim on Second Life. It's still there, by the way, and I was there before and after. I absented myself, and I came back after Advent Children came back, and somehow Advent Children gave everybody the idea that every soldier could just fly and destroy buildings, and that every avalanche rebel could just fly into the air, and it basically turned the sim and every role player there into people trying to create the ultimate showdown of ultimate awesomeness, and it was a nightmare. So I blame Advent Children, because in the game, in the original game, you kick the asses of soldier third class, right? And you have the power rate, but they're never outside of Sephiroth. They're never like these crazy superpowered planet killers.
Well, but Advent Children made it a gravity optional situation.
Yes, Advent Children came up, and suddenly everybody went, "This is Final Fantasy!" Woo!
It was the Matrix everywhere. Final Fantasy.
It was the Matrix everywhere. Yeah, and so I understand what you're saying, and here's the thing. I feel that even though this was something that was anticipated by fans everywhere, everybody was talking about when are we going to see a Final Fantasy VII remake, because everybody asked for it. I feel that this is Square Enix capitulating not on just that, on listening to the fans, but sort of saying, something, I think we can't make good games anymore. Because Final Fantasy VII was the game that sold the PlayStation. That's the game that made people go, oh, I have to go and get myself a PlayStation.
That was the big introduction to America. I mean, obviously there were other Final Fantasies that were introduced into America, but that was the big market winner.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And now, the game that might sell the PlayStation 4 might be Final Fantasy VII. Not Final Fantasy 15, Final Fantasy 7. And if we look at the progression of the Final Fantasies, 6 was the best, in my opinion. 7 was damn good. 8, what the hell happened there? 9, really good.
8 was good except for the middle, when I went Deus Ex, what the hell?
No. Okay, let's go back. Up until 7, you can't, even if you had stretched believability for storylines. Final Fantasy VIII took that and stretched it so far that it broke, to the point that the storyline made no sense. There were holes everywhere, and you basically went, "What the hell is going on? And why do I care about any of these guys?"
Well,
Because Final Fantasy VIII was the first Final Fantasy where I didn't give a shit about anyone on that screen.
Well,
quite
that's part of
honestly,
why they're going to Final Fantasy VII. It was so popular, and there's a lot of people who got into video games because of Final
Final Fantasy VII.
Fantasy VII. There's a lot of people who would put down their sports game, their Madden whatever. Was
Yeah.
Madden around then?
Oh god, Madden was around since like 19.
Okay, yeah. They would drop their Madden whatever and then go on and play and
Final
go on
Fantasy VII.
and get into Final Fantasy VII. And a lot of people's first nerd interest was Final Fantasy VII. Like, I'm always going to have a soft spot in my heart for Star Trek for the same reason. So when people do this, it's it doesn't surprise me that they're I mean, we've talked about trying to play to your audience and trying to do what you can to please your customer base. And since the customers have been pushing for this updated version with these updated graphics, because the graphics in Final Fantasy VII was something fancy and new at the time.
At
They
the
were
time.
stellar. Everybody loved them. And so having these even newer graphics but having the same story and a similar, I think it's the same gameplay, is something that really is appealing to them, and I like Drew and kind of torn, because I do definitely see where your point is, Mouse. It's that it feels like a cop out, but at the same time they're giving them what they want.
Well, it
And
is.
that's something we've been trying. That's something gamers have been screaming at these different companies to actually do. They say, "Hey, we want this game. Do it.
Do
You know,
it."
why do you keep remaking games that came out 2 years ago? Hit this one classic game everybody actually likes, you know?"
Yeah, Nomura wants to remake Final Fantasy VI as well, but my main concern is this. Now they're turning to the, well, let's remake our great games. And the issue that I have is that there has not been a good Final Fantasy since Final Fantasy IX. And we're now at Final Fantasy 15, you consider there's 2 MMOs, whatever. And Final Fantasy 15 doesn't look that good. I mean, I don't mind the whole fact that all the main cast is males. If you want to tell the story of an old boy road trip, tell it. I'm perfectly fine with what the kind of story the creators want to make, but make it a good story, for crying out loud. They have not been able to tell a good story since 9. And that's makes me sad.
and I'm still iffy on 9, so...
Yeah, I mean, compared to 8, 9, the storyline in 9 is at least more cohesive.
Well, like I
but
said, I liked 8. 8 was fine, except for literally that middle part where they go, "Oh, we all grew up together. We've all forgotten." What?
Yeah.
That's when the game falls through its own plot holes.
Yeah, that's where I'm like going, okay, I'm going to pretend this entire
Inception.
cutscene didn't exist, and we're just going to pretend and move on. That you all had collective amnesia. Okay,
Collective
yeah.
amnesia, convenient, yeah.
So, and then, Final Fantasy 15 being technically Final Fantasy 13 Versus, because
Yeah, I know.
one day they decided we were going to have a Final Fantasy 13 orgasm of monumental proportions and have Crystal War versus Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, and 4, and Lightning does things and stuff.
Final Fantasy 13-4, how Lightning got her groove back.
Yeah.
I want to see that movie.
Yeah, you can see that one alone. But, I mean, I want to see Final Fantasy 15 only because I want to, but do I have... After
good.
Final Fantasy 13 became pretty much Final Fantasy Dungeon Simulator,
Yeah.
and I gave up on that because I was streaming that, and literally I'm going through 2 hours in going, when the hell do I get out of this dungeon? And then somebody's like, well, you don't. I'm like, then F it, I'm not playing.
Yeah.
This isn't Final Fantasy as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not playing this to run a dungeon perpetually. I want to get out into the open world. That's the part of the joy of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Kingdom Hearts 3.
But we have Kingdom Hearts 3. They finally learned to count too.
Yeah.
It's
Like, there's been all these weird, what is it, 250...
35-6 over 2 by pi, and
Yeah,
Chain of Memories, and Chain of Bondage, and...
Chain of Bondage? What?
Chain of...
It would not surprise me at this point, honestly.
A Disney game? Chains of Bondage? Maybe.
Yeah.
Chains of Chastity, perhaps, but... But apparently, I guess this is supposed to be, I don't know, either retelling or finally getting to the beginning of the Keyblade Wars or whatever. But
Just
I
get it over with,
I just
please.
the fact that the gameplay footage I saw has Sora summoning the freaking Disneyland rides as his
I know, the
attacks.
teacups.
The teacups was wild.
I'm
Big Thunder
cool with this.
Mountain.
I know.
I mean, it's Walt Disney being, I'm gonna make an action game and put in all this Disney stuff. I mean,
Like,
it's
yay!
pure. It's pure camp. It always makes me laugh when people take Final Fantasy, when people take Kingdom Hearts super super
Seriously.
super seriously. And I do get it's a fantastic game, and it actually has
It
some really
is.
compelling storylines.
Mm.
But at its heart, it's still this fun-loving Disney game, and that's
It's
something that
fan
actually made me
fiction.
put down. What was it? The DS game, the 365,
Over
whatever,
AE or whatever.
whatever. I had to put it down because I got so bored and sick of them being all angsty. Goofy is angsty, and I was like, your name's Goofy.
Yeah, I know.
Stop.
You're not a
So-
birding anti-hero, Goofy. Just stop it.
So I'm super excited about like this teacup rides and like the actual Disney World stuff going on. Frankly, I think
That's what made the first game so good.
that's exactly what made the series so popular. So I'm
Yeah.
really looking forward to that.
Yeah, they're I think finally recapturing some of the fun lovingness and moving away from the dark broody grr angst things that they were doing.
They kidnapped Mickey Mouse and it makes me sad.
Grr.
Yeah.
Help me! Oh, don't torture me!
Like,
But think about it. He talks like that. How can you be angsty? Oh, everybody's dead. Oh,
yeah.
I knew Goofy too well. I screamed at him. Goofy, no! Oh, no! Oh, the agony! The agony!
Now we need a picture of Mickey Mouse holding up Donald Duck's skull.
I lost
Yeah.
Donald. I knew him well.
Yeah.
He was
so-
a bastard.
And then we've got Bravely Second and Lair, which is Bravely Default's sequel, which proves that, in fact, they do know how to write a damn story.
I know. Bravely Default was so good. Why don't I put the team in charge of that and put them in the frickin' Final Fantasy series? Seriously.
Well, why do they still need to be in the Final Fantasy series? Okay, I mean,
I know.
we don't need Final Fantasy 710. Quite
No, we don't.
honestly.
It
It's
makes
basically
money.
we have to be honest. The Final Fantasy series is not a series. It's basically a whole bunch of different games and with different worlds and different characters that they just get launched under the Final Fantasy brand name because it's recognizable. I mean, the only real continuity that you have is basically the Final Fantasy VII game and its prequels and its sort of kind of sequel, and then the Final Fantasy X and dear God, Final Fantasy X2. Why did that happen in the first place?
Final Fantasy
They're just gonna
X2 fan service?
Yeah.
They're just going to keep releasing these games as long as they keep making money.
Well,
Is what sucks about it.
I know.
And they're not going to change things because they see it's such a successful series that they go, oh, let's just keep going.
I know Square has sort of a mentality that Final Fantasy is their mainstay, and then if they ever do anything experimental, they make a different game system for it.
Like Nier.
Like Nier or oh god, what was it? The Last Remnant was
I liked The Last Remnant. I
But-
actually liked The Last Remnant.
But you also have to keep in mind there is one. Okay, of all the games that are in the Final Fantasy universe that I want them to remake is actually not a Final Fantasy game. It's Vagrant Story,
oh,
which
God,
actually
yes.
does take place in one of the Final Fantasy worlds. I can't remember which one. I think it's 8 or 9. But it is an actual. It's not Final Fantasy. It's Vagrant Story. It actually takes place, I think, earlier. But it is just freaking awesome, and I would pay hard money to have that game come back in modern graphics.
I agree.
I have nothing to add to that.
And then
We
lastly,
just
there was Tales of
stand it
Zestria, whatever the hell that is. That's another one of the Tales of something or other, because they've got so many of those.
Yeah.
Is it one of the Tales of Symphonia? No, that's
Symphonia.
Nintendo. That's Nintendo.
That's not, no, yeah,
I don't
that's-
know. It's Tales of something or other. They're
Tales of
all
really
related
cares.
in some way, shape, or form. They're all still Squeenix, but
Squeenix.
Yeah.
all right. So shall we move on to our next?
Let us move on to so.
On to
Sony.
Sony, because this is tangentially related, because Sony was backing the Final Fantasy VII remix. But
Mhm.
amongst their
Big
various
news.
backings, the first one, or one of the first ones that came up, was Shenmue 3, which has not been seen since its Shenmue 2 back in 2003. This was a Dreamcast game originally back in 1999. They launched, although they're backing it, they launched a Kickstarter
Kickstarter.
crowdfunding.
I
I
don't like
don't.
it when big companies do Kickstarters. It's like, come
Yeah,
on,
it's like
Kickstarters are
Yeah,
for the
that's
purpose of the
lazy.
people who
it's like
can't.
Sony. You've got enough. You have enough money to bathe in it, like Scrooge McDuck. What the hell?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there should be some kind of a rule against that, but then you run into what is an established company and
Yeah,
this, that, and the other
I
thing,
don't
and
think it should be a rule. I think it should just be freaking shame for crying out loud. If you
yeah.
have more money than God, don't start a goddamn Kickstarter. Show a little bit of faith in your own intellectual properties and put your money there.
I
Well, I
mean,
sincerely
they
hope
got the
that
money,
I
Yeah,
and that's
sincerely
what it comes down to is they're looking for money.
I sincerely hope that everyone who backs it gets a free copy, because they better.
I know. It's like
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yep.
I
like
mean, this was apparently the fastest game to reach the $1 million mark. It's the
mhm.
second fastest Kickstarter to reach the $1 million mark. So there is a huge swelling of support, and as far as I know, it's still being funded. I didn't go back to check, but I believe it's still being funded. Um, so there's still, if anyone who wants to get in on it, there you go. It's somewhere over on Kickstarter.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I can tell you exactly how much they have um accumulated at this point. They're at $3,510,310 of their original $2 million goal, with 26 days to go. It might actually beat the Castlevania Symphony of the Night spiritual successor as the most funded game in Kickstarter. If it hits the $4 million, well, actually, they hit
Take it.
$4.5 million. So we'll see.
It's entirely possible with 26 days to go, and they're at
I
3
know.
million
Yeah.
something now.
But do you know something? With this kind of funding that they're getting,
Dating.
I wish they would just look at it and go, you know what? Screw this, screw this. You can go to hell, Sony. We're gonna deal with this ourselves. We're not gonna take your
Yeah.
restrictions. We'll just publish it ourselves.
Yep.
But what? Who knows? Maybe Sony came in behind them and said, "Whatever you get on Kickstarter, will
I'll
match."
match.
Mm-hmm.
In
See
which
that?
case, this better be the most freaking orgasmic game that they've ever produced.
I know.
So,
Mm-hmm.
I wish they would make that clear if they have actually done that, because I'm looking at the page. I'm not seeing a lot any statement to that sort. But
well, it may not be something that they can announce. It may be something that they have agreed to behind the scenes.
the same seems.
I mean, another option might be that they might re-release Shenmue 1 and 2 with modern, updated graphics, maybe as one continual storyline.
That too. That could be interesting too.
So aside from Shenmue 3, we have The Last Guardian, which is
Oh God.
from Team Ico. This is sort of a spiritual successor to Ico and Shadow of the
Shut-
Colossus.
and has
Um,
been delayed for 6 years.
yes, it's been in the works since 2007.
Which is always a scary sign.
You get flashbacks of Duke Nukem Forever.
Yeah,
Yep.
this was, I guess,
Yep.
first officially announced at E3 2009. It was supposed to, and then was supposed to be released in 2011 for PlayStation 3, which then it didn't happen. There were tons of
Uh-huh.
complications, hardware difficulties, whole bunch of other stuff. Forced it to go over to PlayStation 4 in 2012. Well, they've finally gotten their crap together, and I guess they are on the verge of releasing it. So,
I am scared. I'm honestly. I hope it is good because I loved Ico, and I loved Shadow of the Colossus. But I'm just afraid that this is going to be a hot mess.
I'm thinking it's probably, of anything, it's probably, oh God, what was the name of that? It's not Ico. It's, oh, I'm drawing a blank. I can see the image of the thing in front of me. It's some dude and some big monster that follows behind him.
Shadow of the Colossus.
I'm drawing a blank. I wish I could remember it because I did not have time to look it up. But um, I'm thinking it's more along the lines of that. But it's probably closer to Ico than Shadow of the Colossus, because
Probably.
I don't
We
know
will
what to
have
think
to
of that.
see.
Just from what I've seen of it, man, luring around a dog bird thing. I
Is it
don't know.
Falcor from
Yeah.
the Neverending Story, maybe?
No, not even close.
Falcor!
Atreyu!
It's as if the nothing never was.
It was almost as if it was nothing.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, Mouse, I'm going to give this one to you because I didn't get a chance to look into it. No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky, I'm so excited about this, which means I'm going to be deeply disappointed when it launches. Um, we don't have a release date yet. We've seen some more gameplay for this game. They have told us that the release date will be coming soon, and it's basically a procedurally generated universe where you can go and explore solar systems and different planets and alien planets, and it's the kind of game that I've always wanted to have. Basically, just play it being Star Trek, even though it would be cool if you could have like a starship and your entire crew to command, but it's just you and your starship. But it still looks absolutely amazing. The colors, it's not the brown and gray that so many games like this go for. The alien planets are colorful and vivid without being garish. So I am hopeful. I am cautiously hopeful about this game, and I hope it turns out well. Another game that makes me go, it's Dreams that Sony announced, and they showed very little except some very surreal stuff, and it's kind of like being in a napping cat's dream that I saw, so it should be interesting.
All right. Do we have anything else for Sony then?
Street Fighter Five, they're publishing Street Fighter Five exclusively for the PlayStation first, and yesterday they showed a glitch. Fighting scene with Chun-Li. Apparently, a glitch made her boobs enormous. Like I
Yeah,
showed CC ginormous,
glitch.
and they said, well,
Yeah.
well, actually, I
Glitch.
actually saw the video, and it does look like a glitch, but who knows? Maybe some
Yeah, because the
coder
skin was kind of stretched out in really strange
really
ways.
strange, and it was torpedo shaped, and it was like, oh my god, Chun-Li, what happened?
Like it was more like just like when you have this arm that just stretches and becomes 3 feet long, kind
Yeah.
of
Who knows? Perhaps
glitch.
that is a new battle
Just in-
technique for
moved
Chun-Li to
over a
just
little.
beat you with her breath.
The thousand boob slap.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Tickle physics, you're doing it wrong.
Don't be mean
Alright.
to Chun-Li. She's my favorite.
Shall we move away from Sony now?
Yes,
Yeah.
please. And we're not moving in a very positive direction, aren't we? We have
no,
Electronic Arts.
sadly not. We're moving in the electronics arts direction, which is
The
still not
Spider-Woman.
terribly bad.
Okay, yeah.
It's got moments.
You're telling yourself that.
It was the Star Wars rama of
E3.
E3 because literally there were no less than 3 Star Wars announcements. There were probably more, but I stopped counting.
Yeah.
Well, everybody's so excited about the new movie that they're just piling on Star Wars. Anything is selling right now.
Well, first up we've got Battlefront, and from what little I've looked at it, I understand it's being released 11/17/15, which, barring any unforeseen disasters, is hot right in front of the Christmas season.
And right before the
and,
movie releases, which is in December. Christmas Day.
Huh?
Right before the movie.
The movie is releasing on Christmas.
There you go.
I know
So-
how I'm spending my Christmas. I don't need no
Or-
stocking.
It's like, for unto us a Jedi's born.
And,
Unto us.
So we've got, this supposedly has everything from 40-player maps to 8-player maps to solo versus the AI versus to one-on-one versus or co-op. It's got a whole bunch of functionality available to it. So it's not my, in all honesty, it's not my type of game, but it definitely looks like they are going and putting in a lot into this. So, and then aside from that, we had an announcement for the MMO, which would be Star Wars Old Republic, Knights of the Fallen Empire. They were showing a trailer called Sacrifice. So this is on the heels of the Rise of the Emperor expansion, which recently came out. So more story is supposedly coming with this, and as they phrased it, this is BioWare style storytelling. So
Yeah.
I am waiting to see if we're going to have the Planet of the Gays, or if we're really going to have, and for those who don't know, please don't think I'm picking on the gays. Mouse likes to call it that too.
It is. It's basically you have the gays are only on this planet that you can't access until level so on and so forth. So it is the planet of the gays.
You have to be level, what did I say, 55 or 50?
I think it's 40. You have to be level 40 in order to master the gayness necessary to enter the planet and
No, I think it was
get
50 because I think I was about 3/5 of the way there.
okay, and so that you can have a same-sex bad romance. But
So rather than just
Yeah.
forcibly shoehorning it in, pardon my joke.
I'm politically
That
correct.
was
Look,
that was
we
not
have
intentionally
minorities.
vocalized.
I am the token minority in this show. After
um,
CC.
Eh.
No, okay, hey, I
I
have
think you fit under more classifications than I do.
than you do. Okay, now I have reservations about them saying, "Oh, we heard what our fans say, and they want more Bioware style storytelling." And I think we all know what the elephant in the room is, and it's that basically EA owns BioWare, and we've seen the stuff that eventually happens to good studios that EA owns. Back when
Good
Ultima
studios are
on.
bad.
Yeah, well, this is, back when Origin was still a thing and it was not desecrated by EA and then named its online distribution service after the company it murdered. Origin was working on Ultima 9 at the time, and the original plot had issues, but it was actually better than what came out. And EA decided, no, we need more people developing content for Ultima Online, and they started shifting teams out of developing for Ultima 9, and they focused them on Ultima Online. And long story short, over several practices of this, eventually what came out of Ultima 9 was crap because they put so much emphasis on Ultima Online that they neglected resources for the development teams for the series. And I'm a little afraid of what eventually might become of BioWare now that EA is calling the shots, and it might decide, well, you really need to focus more on the MMO. I know EA's track record.
That they're gonna just eat them alive again.
EA is the Unicron of game developers. Jim Sterling said this. Thank God for Jim. But it absorbs everything. It really does. I mean, can you think of a studio that it has outside of BioWare? One really good independent studio that it has absorbed that has not gone to crap.
That's about the only one that it has absorbed. That
Yeah,
hasn't gone to
because they
crap.
killed Maxis this year after that
Yep.
the disaster that was SimCity
Yeah, SimCity and Sims 4.
and Sims 4.
Yep.
But all of those decisions that made both games so unpopular were straight from the top at EA. But they told Maxis to absorb the guilt, and so of course when they took them behind the barn and shot them, they said, well, they had to go. It just wasn't as good as it used to be. We just put them out in misery. It really saddens us. And then they start looking at BioWare.
And then City Skylines come out and says, this is how it should be done. And they're like, oh.
Exactly.
So,
Pretty-
and then on top of that, we've got Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes coming out for the mobile, which is
An RPG.
I don't even know where to go with that. EA has, correct me if I was wrong. It was EA who basically said mobile is the way to go. Was it them or was it something
Yes,
else?
and they were the bastards who created the Dungeon Keeper mobile
Yeah.
game that was essentially a shameful. Okay, what EA did to the Dungeon Keeper intellectual property, in the War of Troy, Achilles killed Hector right before the Wolves of Troy, and he grabbed his body, hitched him to his carriage, and dragged that body right in front of the Wolves of Troy and in front of Hector's parents. That is what EA did to the Dungeon Keeper series with their mobile game.
We're so cultural here.
I'm sorry, that's what he did, except that after that, it teabagged the body.
Yeah.
That's what it did. And so when EA says mobile is the way to go, I'm sorry. It's like someone needs to slap a bitch. It's just no.
Well, when they do say that mobile's the way to go, I don't disagree with it because it's a fascinating platform because everybody
is.
has these smartphones. Your entire screen is a touch screen, and there's a lot of things you could do with that. It's an interesting way to look at gaming, and everybody has a smartphone. But the
But
problem, okay, well, you don't have a smartphone, but the problem with this is that everybody goes, oh, well, we sell our game for 99 cents, and then we have all these 99 cents transactions,
it's just not
and
it's
that's
not that though. I mean, you can have
not
microtransactions.
what
You can have
they want.
microtransactions if you do it right. But EA doesn't do it right. You
I
had
don't know it.
you you
They're
you basically had like you had to pay to do anything in the game after like 3 actions. Otherwise, you have to wait a day. I mean,
Yeah.
the only stupider thing than that would have been to pay to unlock pixels at this point.
Yeah,
Well,
and with something like this that's an RPG, if they're like, "Oh, to unlock this storyline, you have to pay an extra $5." That's just gonna make me mad.
Yeah.
well, on top of
Like,
that, the concept that someone's saying mobile is the way to go. Okay, yes, there is a definite open market that is flourishing. It is not the way to go
Yeah.
because you will never get rid of PC/console until you have phones or tablets that are computationally
yep.
equivalent. And that is not going to happen for a very long time.
10
Until
years.
I can play WoW on my phone.
Yeah.
But
And
I won't be able to see my own character,
Yeah.
much less a massive raid boss that barely fits on my
Unless
teenage screen.
unless they sell an add-on with what Microsoft is going to be peddling, which
later,
we will talk about later.
later.
Ah,
Let's not unravel. Oh, pardon me. Let's back to unravel.
uh-huh.
So,
Yes.
Ravel.
Anyway,
Unravel.
did we talk about Need for Speed?
Who
Oh,
cares?
we'll just back. We'll just come back into this. Hold on. So let's start with
Okay.
Unravel. Unravel. What I don't even know where they were going with this. I
Yeah.
guess Electronic Arts was touring Europe and saw this struggling little company with a new game. And they thought, "Ooh, let's eat it. Looks tasty. Haven't had Bavarian in forever." And this
Mhm.
poor little, I don't know what nationality he was. Like he could have been Austrian for all I know. He came out. He was so excited to talk about his little yarn doll and how the little red strands of love that connect us all. And I was going,
Oh.
oh, okay.
I don't understand.
I
But
don't.
they're
Yeah,
trying to hit the indie gaming market in these funky little games that do well.
yeah. I don't
But
know if this
you
was
don't
meant to
do
be.
that through Electronic Arts, though.
I don't know if this was meant to be Katamari Damacy or this or Kirby Yarn things, but I'm like, what?
It is basically what I remember is him is going, you are the red thread that runs through people's lives, and you unravel as anything unravels when we're far away from the people we love. But you are jumping through trees and bouncing, and that no, why?
I didn't really get how the gameplay is going to work out.
It's
Yeah,
some
they,
sort of
they
strange
kind of
puzzle.
showed like very scanned, and it was like, take a look now, look away, look at me, don't look at the game, look at me.
Look at my doll. Look at
Like
me.
I actually think that it has a lot of potential to be a really great game, but I don't really know what kind of a game it's going to be.
I
Exactly. They have not.
I,
I think it
they
had
painted
potential
a
to be a
really
game until EA got a
pretty
hold of it.
it was a really pretty, really abstract game.
I think if it had been a Kickstarter and just gone that way and left EA off of it,
Yeah.
it would have probably been something artsy and cute and probably would have gotten its following that way. The
Hmm.
fact that EA comes in and says we're making Unravel, and I'm like,
That
why?
that already accrues
Well,
some bad faith, mostly because bad faith by association, unfortunately. And although it is unfortunate, well, honestly, as a developer nowadays, you need to know who your bedfellows are, and if you just blindly go with EA, you have to be prepared to basically face the backlash of going to bed
mhm.
with one of the most unethical gaming companies out there outside of Ubisoft.
As far as EA goes, I think this is actually a smart move because they're trying to get it. They're trying to get the people who like those little cute little indie games. They like games like Braid. They're trying to say, "Oh, look, here's an artsy game. Come, hipsters, come." You know, and I do like that they're trying to get more people into the gaming industry. I am still confused about what this game actually is.
Yeah,
I,
That's just my main
it's
complaint.
typical because it's typical of EA, who is accustomed to like the big explosions or like the 60,000, 5 billion, whatever sequels of Madden and FIFA, and basically they go they know how to present conferences with big explosions and action scenes. So when they got this game and they went, look, this is a thing. Yeah. Oh, let's talk about FIFA.
No. I just think this is the red yarn road to mobile, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So aside from Unravel, which was the what the F, we had Mirror's Edge Catalyst, which I think is perhaps one of their positives of the night. I have still not played Mirror's Edge.
It
I
has
have.
some game-breaking bugs in
It
there.
does have some break.
So
Which
I
are
understand
up-
this is meant to be the origin of the heroine, or the heroine,
Face.
pardon me. No levels, no loading screens, and completely free roaming.
And
I like
more,
that.
And no more gunfights. They got rid of the mechanic where you can disarm guards and then try to shoot at people with a really bad first person shooter element. So that is a very smart way to go.
And that'll eliminate some of the bugs that they've
Yes.
had in the past.
So I liked Mirror's Edge. I'm not sure it was. I mean, it was definitely something fresh and interesting contrasted to the stuff that EA was publishing at the time. I just hope that it doesn't acquire the EA taint. And the reason is, oh, Drew, shut up. Taint is a completely respectable word that has nothing to do with the male anatomy.
It was who said male?
Well, I don't know. I'm okay. I'm not going to ask this question.
You're the
right
one
now.
who went down
He's
that
like,
road.
nope.
I didn't say.
I'm not going to ask this question. No, I heard you snickering. I saw you snickering. You
I
gutter
didn't say a
brain.
damn thing. What goes on in my head doesn't need to be verbalized by you.
It doesn't need to be. Anyways,
Anyway,
anyways,
taint.
The taint. Yes. CC says that. I hope it doesn't acquire the AAA taint. What I call it is basically where you clearly have had way too much money poured in, and not enough critical eyes on whether or not it actually enhances the game experience. Because one of the issues that that the AAA games have currently, is that they create very, very beautiful looking games, but the amount of money that goes into creating them makes it so that you can have a game that sells 3 million units and it's considered a failure.
Yeah.
And, Mirror's Edge is a very popular niche franchise. So if you give it like the full, if you basically are doing cocaine lines on the franchise and throwing money at it and expecting it to make 50 million whatever, what's going to happen is the typical EA thing, well, it did not sell enough, so we're not going to do another one. Which is what Ubisoft did with Beyond Good and Evil.
Well, aside from that, speaking of selling like crippling amounts of money, Need for Speed and the various sports ball titles.
Okay, the one notable thing, I don't give a crap about EA sport titles.
I don't think any of us do.
But one notable thing is that for the first time in the history of the franchise, which is 16 years, FIFA Soccer, oh god, FIFA Soccer actually includes the female soccer teams this time around.
What?
Yeah. Now,
Gender inclusion, we can't have. Sorry.
So now the question is this:
Did
what
they
I wonder
change
is
their
if
gameplay?
FIFA 16 will have the option to bribe people.
I want that.
I want that.
I can play that game.
I think I win. There we go.
Yeah,
I
I
want-
will. Yeah,
I want the
I can
win
do that
button.
one.
And of course, there was Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2.
I liked the first game.
I don't even know what to say about that.
It's a game.
It's a game.
It's-
It
I
exists.
really liked the first game. It was a cute little puzzle tower defense like game.
It was pretty It was fun.
It is what it is. I mean, and the fact that so many games parody it now, so
Yeah.
Because they saw how wildly successful this little game was. So
this is
You know?
this is how you find the wildly successful things. I mean, you never know.
at least
where
they're
it's
not
gonna come
making it
from.
super angsty. Plants vs Zombies.
The
The
dark
These
reckoning.
side.
super yeah, the dark side, and they have like
Feed me,
these super
Seymour.
graphic. They've got the dying sunflower. Like
Petunia!
The compost.
yeah.
It
All
was
right.
3 days before she was transplanted to a new pot.
Moving on then from electronics art to Nintendo.
Nintendo.
I'm going to give this one
Nintendo.
to you, Mouse. Have at it.
Nintendo. Can we talk? I mean, can we talk? You've gone so weird in the past few years. What is wrong with you? You used to be there for my childhood. We used to know each other. We played together. Why have you started wearing strange clothes and doing bizarre things, Nintendo? Like showing up to E3 and barely talking about any games at all for the Wii U? And showing us games for the 3DS instead? What is wrong with you? I don't understand. I really don't understand what Nintendo has been doing as of late. They exist in this kind of bubble over there among all of the other developers in Japan, and they seem bizarrely out of touch with reality and everything else.
People are gonna throw money at them because they're Nintendo.
Well, I
And
know.
I feel like that's given them that makes them feel like they've have leeway to go out and create strange things. And I'm all in favor of creating
Well, no,
strange
but
things.
we're not. I'm not talking about like cool, strange things. I'm
Yeah, I
talking
know.
like acting bizarre, like putting your underpants on your heads and jumping out of the window because you think you can fly. Kind of weird.
Yeah, like
Like,
do we really need another game where you get to play as your little me and
but
you
here's the
know?
thing. The first sign that Nintendo was wearing its underpants on its head came around when they announced the Amiibo, and everybody was excited, and I was excited about the Amiibo too. And
Hmm.
you have these things that could unlock really cool stuff in games, and they completely missed the opportunity of what the Amiibo could do. You could put actual classic games into the Amiibos that they're not putting in the virtual store. They have like an enormous. Nintendo has one of the most memorable and marketable catalogs
Hmm.
in the whole world.
I'd play
People,
Super Mario Sunshine right now.
yeah, people would
Streaming,
pay good
don't care.
money to play any of the old games that they can't play anymore because I don't know, their GameCube finally like Satan came out of the GameCube and melted it.
You can buy GameCubes for like $50 at some used game stores, guys.
I know, like
Just telling you. That's a great buy.
just great buy. But I mean, yeah, but and it would have been brilliant, outside of unlocking content in all these other games, your little Samus Aran amiibo could have Metroid coming with it, or or a little Nestor with Mother. Now, I'll give Nintendo this bit. Thank you for bringing Mother, which what is it in the West? It was called Starbound, right?
I believe so.
I know it is Mother. Thank you for finally bringing it to the virtual store. It took you 20 freaking years, but everybody has rummed the hell out of it. But anyway,
Your
so
microphone just went wonky.
Yeah.
I did. Okay, after everybody has rummed it to hell. But anyways, thank you for bringing that in. I like that. But now, what they did at what they did at E3. So we got a peek of Star Fox Zero for the Wii U. And Star Fox is actually a cool franchise. It's a franchise that has been neglected for a while. Um, and it's a reboot of the Miyamoto Outer Space game. We got to see some interesting gameplay, like, for example, the target reticle as you fly the ship moves in different directions, but you can use the little first person view inside the gamepad to make sure that your shots are accurate. So that's a cute little way of
Yeah.
adding some extra gameplay elements without being too gimmicky because it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a shooter, spacey game. Aha! I'm looking at my cockpit.
It's a good use of the hardware they have, and it's not weird like when they introduced having microphones in your new Nintendo DS or the microphone plug-in for your GameCube. They'd be like, okay, now talk into the mic for all these Mario Party games, and it couldn't recognize a word you were saying, or you just have to blow into the mic for all these other games. Why?
Why? Or
Why?
I play. Here's the thing. when you have a portable system like that, like the DS, you're not playing it usually at home. You're usually playing it in the bus or at a
Yeah.
park, and so
The last thing you want to be doing is the person yelling at the game "Ah!" on the bus.
exactly. I mean, like, what were you thinking, Nintendo? I mean,
Yeah.
it's a cool concept, but you really need to remember where people are playing these games. Yell as loud as you can. Ah!
Yeah.
No. Um, we didn't get to see much of the of Star Fox, although Miyamoto said that, of course, Star Fox 2, which never came out, they used a few concepts that were going to be included in Star Fox 2, such as your flyer being able to turn into a walker, which looked
I
pretty
think
cool.
Star Fox 2 came out, but not in the States.
It never came out. It was ROMmed and released.
Oh,
Now I
okay.
see this geriatric Star Fox walking around with a walker. Hasn't been that long, Star Fox.
Do a barrel roll on my hip.
Oh,
No,
not that kind of walker.
not that kind of walker.
Like, that would be the weirdest transformer ever.
Miyamoto, in case you're listening, do it. Next game, Star Fox 2060, like 2160. It has to happen.
Well, foxes, how long do they live? I mean, really.
Well, actually, oh god. Okay, so someone showed him. You saw the Star Fox puppets that they used in the E3 conference.
I
Did
didn't
you?
watch anything Nintendo related to the E3 conference, so
Which-
I don't know what you're talking about.
It was a little strange. Like some of their promotional materials, they would show bits of gameplay, but they never bothered to translate the Japanese.
No.
So it'd be like, look, your character can do this. And you're like, that's great.
And then there's like 15 minutes of Yondeiru umune no doko ka okode itsumo nando de mo yume wo mitai. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? What? Yeah, but what does that mean?
Godzilla is coming to eat the planet. We have to get
Yeah.
out of here.
I don't know.
And there were these bizarre puppets being used, and one of them was Miyamoto, and then you had the Star Fox crew, and that just reminded me. Do you remember back when Star Fox for the SNES came out? You had all of these really cool adverts with the Star Fox crew posing, but they weren't pictures. They were actually dolls, like with fur that someone had created for the adverts. Look them up; they're really good. But someone showed recently a picture of one of those remaining dolls, and oh my god, it looks like a nightmare because they've been eaten away by moths. So you see like the partial skeleton of Fox, the metal skeleton. It looks like Star Fox 2020 Nightmare.
It's probably Five Nights at Star Fox Freddy's.
Five Nights at Star Fox. That should be the title of this episode at this point. Five Nights at Star Fox. But yeah, that will haunt your dreams. Anyways, so Star Fox Zero for the Wii U looks cool. Thank you, Nintendo. Then we have a DS title called The Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes. It's a game that you can play with between 3 people. It doesn't look that interesting, really. It's kind of like Nintendo's answer to Gauntlet.
I'm okay with it. It looked kind of like the older Four Swords games, and those were when you're road tripping with 3 siblings in one very very small minivan. You know, these linkable games are really keep you from killing each other, or they expedite it. But
Violence outlets.
but
Sibling rivalry.
but that's the way that I saw it. I said, oh, like I saw it, and my brain just said, road trip game.
Yeah.
I will play that with my brothers, and I'll get really mad at my twin for stealing all the resources again. I know you're watching this.
CC ate
Shame
the
on you.
food. CC shot the food. CC needs food badly.
Yeah.
Cece got screwed over by her brother.
Yeah.
Cece is dead.
Uh-huh.
And what is this Mario Maker business? What is this?
Basically, you can't make a full game using Nintendo Super Mario Maker, but you can create and share individual courses of Mario levels. It looks pretty cool as an editor, so that's another good thing that you can make with the Wii U.
So they are selling an editor for what? Super Mario 64? Is that what it is?
No, Super Mario Brothers, Mario Brothers 3, etc. All of the at least the ones that they showed are pretty much the 8-bit and 16-bit games. But I
Can
don't
you do
know.
that online?
You can share. Yeah, you can share you can share the levels online. Um,
No. I mean, can't you just already do that on your
no.
computer? Build
Oh.
levels.
Oh well.
I'm sure there's probably a PC thing that lets you do it.
But it's not. But
Okay.
Seems like
Okay.
one of those
It's not Nintendo
duh
approved.
things.
But every time you use one of those, Miyamoto creates a Horcrux.
uh,
So, but
are we done
then
with Nintendo, or we still got more to go?
no, I love Nintendo. I just don't understand what they're doing these days. But we also do have Metroid Prime Federation Force for the 3DS, which doesn't really look that impressive. Fans have gotten a bit upset because they were expecting a full HD Metroid game for the Wii U, and instead, it's basically it's kind of the pariah at this point of the Nintendo showcase. It's an open arena first-person shooter game, and that's about it for the
Yeah.
3DS, and
It
it doesn't
sound
look
that
good.
interesting.
Yeah,
Maybe they're gonna be sudden surprise. It's amazing, but
well, I doubt it.
it really just looked like very generic. Yeah, we're in an arena and shooting things. It
Yeah.
didn't really have anything that made it Metroid or Metroid Prime related outside of, well, these costumes look kind of Metroidy.
It's pretty much franchise milk, milk is
Yeah,
a franchise, milk the franchise.
yeah.
And speaking of milking franchises, now we have Yoshi's Woolly World for the Wii U,
It looks
which
cute, but
looks
it also looks like Kirby's Epic Yarn.
yarn exactly. It
Unravel? I'm sorry.
Oops. Yeah, it doesn't come out until October in the US, because um, probably because of the accompanying amiibo, which again looks adorable. But if you've played the previous Yoshi games, doesn't look like there's any significant changes from the series. So unless you're like a hardcore Yoshi gamer or you want the amiibo, I don't really see a reason for buying it. I mean, I have a Captain Toad, and that was, oh my god, that game is awesome. But it doesn't seem like Nintendo's really putting anything that game changing in for this E3 conference, outside of Star Fox Zero, which is the first time they've actually visited the franchise since, oh my god, when? Since Star Fox Adventures for the GameCube.
Yeah.
And there's a bit of a rumor that Laura K. Buzz reported that I want to share with you, just to make you picture this. Someone hacked an amiibo database, and you know how each amiibo has like a chip number reserved for the kind of amiibo it is. Well, someone discovered that there are 700 chips set aside for each kind of Pokemon, and that
I'm
could
sorry,
mean
700 chips for each kind of Pokemon?
yes,
Or for the
each,
Pokemon game?
no, for each kind of Pokemon, as in every Pokemon having a potential amiibo. In other
Okay,
words,
so I'm not
700
thinking of
Pokemon.
700 potentially individual Pikachus.
No,
No.
Thank
As in-
God, because
no.
I think I would have had an epileptic seizure right there.
No, but basically potentially 700 Pokemon amiibos coming your way at some point, which I have some
Maybe
friends who have OCD and are very very they're very very adamant about collecting Pokemon memorabilia, and this would just break them.
And that's
If-
what Nintendo's after. Yay!
We're at 700 at this point because they've had all different regions, and I don't know what colors they're on anymore.
I know it's
I just kind of end up somehow. Sometimes people just give me Pokemon games, and I play them. I don't know what these weird plant
creatures
bugs
are.
are. I don't know what the Pokemon are anymore. But
I gave
I
up
will
a long
play
time ago,
anything
so-
that looks like a teddy bear.
Oh,
But I feel like there's more than 700.
I completely forgot to mention that about Fallout 4, the fact that you could kill somebody with a teddy bear.
Oh,
You have a teddy bear gun.
Yes, they actually showed that in the thing. They had a
Pre-order.
gun where they could launch teddy bears and cause them to hit the person and explode.
Pre-fucking order right now.
I watched.
Death
I
by
watched
That's
teddy
open.
bear.
play that.
If the 30 minutes didn't sell me, then see this is
Uh-huh.
this is how underwhelming This is how underwhelming the Nintendo E3 conference was. We're talking about Bethesda again.
Circle
I'm
back.
sorry, Miyamoto.
Yeah.
I love you. I love the stuff you do. Please do something interesting. This E3 was fantastic, and you guys
Phoned it
came.
in.
Well, yeah, they phoned it in. The only people who looked worse than you were Ubisoft.
Speaking of which,
Speaking of which, we're going to go and talk about the
The company everyone loves to hate.
well,
let me just go out there and say this. They have one game that was announced that I think pretty much sums it up: the Fractured Butthole.
yes.
New
I'll
South
let you
Park
take the lead on this one, Mouse. Go ahead.
Okay, so we've got the South Park RPG sequel coming up, which I'm sorry, I stopped watching South Park about 10 years ago. I'm not interested.
Well, the last game was super successful.
But I know that
was.
the game was super
It was
successful.
super popular.
And
And if
filthy.
they can continue to milk a franchise, they're going to milk it to death.
Yeah, because it's Ubisoft, who have like how many Assassin's Creed games by now?
Yes.
Well-
Even though there were only supposed to be 3 initially, I think.
Yeah. So not much to say about that, except that now the game is superhero themed, of course.
As opposed to Dovahkiin in the freaking fantasy universe, but they do have quite a bit of superhero lore inside of South Park to pull from now. I'm just waiting to see if we'll be fighting Cthulhu at any point in time.
That would be interesting. Except that, I don't know. I liked South Park when it first started, but then eventually the edgy act just kind of lost its luster. So I'm not terribly interested in the game. I know people like it, and I hope it's a good game for you, even though Ubisoft is putting it out. So here's hoping.
I will honestly say that I will probably, as long as it's available for PC. I'm trying to avoid more console games.
Yeah.
I will probably get it.
So
I will
expensive.
probably play it. I don't think I will stream it because there were parts of the last one that I thought that I like. I could be getting in trouble by showing this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Twitch would have to open an after dark sets of accounts for streaming that kind of stuff.
Well, they just want you to put maturity levels up on your thing, but
Yeah.
yeah, there was a point
Well,
where I'm
with,
like,
with a South Park game, though, you kind of need an immaturity level gauge.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm like, do cartoon boobies count? Are you not allowed to show the cartoon boobies? I don't get it.
Especially when they're just circles with dots, because it's South Park.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ah.
paper dolls wanking, does that count? Are you
Yeah.
not supposed to show
Yeah.
those? Yeah, so I will probably play it just to play it, but I don't think I'll be streaming it because that's. Yeah, there were a lot of moments where I'm like, oh no, can't show that. No, that shouldn't be seen.
So, moving on, moving on from masturbating paper dolls.
Must we?
Must we? I have no segue for that, so I'm just like trying to run away as fast as I can from that topic.
I can. Your notes, the veritable wank fest of boring Tom Clancy game.
No. We're not there yet. We're not there yet.
That would be the segue, though.
That would be the segue. Okay, I'll take that segue. And of course, we have a veritable wank fest of boring Tom Clancy games. We have The Division, which is an open-world third-person shooter, which
Really? Wait, what?
What?
That's a thing?
it's a thing.
People do that?
It's
Wow.
post-apocalyptic,
Wait,
too.
It's so
apocalyptic.
new.
And there's a disease that spreads on Black Friday and causes the United States to turn into chaos. And you're part of the division that's supposed to take care of shit. Man, I almost fell asleep saying that. Outside of that, Rainbow Six with Angela Bassett playing your boss. That's the only interesting part of the game. Rainbow Six Terror Hunt, and then we have Ghost Recon. Enough, Tom Clancy, please, just enough. I know Ubisoft, you like milking. You like milking a franchise until its others are shriveled black stalactites, but just stop already. And speaking of that, we have the next franchise that Ubisoft is hoping will turn into another multi sequel installment called For Honor, which was probably the most hyped up bullshit coming out from anyone presenting a game. You had okay. I will quote him verbatim. Through a new type of gameplay we call the art of battle, you will feel the weight of the weapon in your hand, the crash as you block the attack, the impact when you strike the winning blow.
But
Man,
none
that
of the,
sounds like exercise.
but
I
none
know,
of
it's
the,
like
none of the gore when you get impaled on the stick that's coming at you.
exactly. I'm like, okay, so this is basically Ubisoft trying to get into Skyrim, Elder Scrolls kind of thing, and
Does
whatever.
Ubisoft actually understand how heavy
No,
a sword is? Because
have
they're not light.
have you
They
seen
can
the
chop
breast
through-
physics in Ubisoft female protagonist? No, they don't understand physics at all.
Okay, okay.
I mean,
Um,
the whole concept that here I am with a little controller and all of a sudden I'm supposed to feel the impact.
The impact.
Uh,
It felt like it was picking
Diggy,
up a feather
like,
duster. That must have been a very heavy sword.
uh-huh.
Oh my
Like, is it
god.
gonna get stuck and I just have to like jiggle it out of someone?
Aha! No,
Sorry, I have a really graphic imagination sometimes, and I'm like,
My
I don't want to play a
imagination
game
went
where I just
seven different directions at that moment. I couldn't handle it.
fair enough.
that's where it went.
Fair enough.
We went there.
There
Okay,
was sniping
Okay.
involved. There was inappropriateness. It was all. It was
Uh-huh.
all the things.
all the things. It
Like,
went
I
just
just-
literally went that way.
Like I don't have a problem with a new game, like a new fighting game, whatever. That's a staple of the genre, and
Right.
especially not a new fantasy game. If they're trying to get into the Skyrim stuff, that stuff is super successful, and they're genuinely a lot of fun if they're made well. But when you go into this, you will feel the weight of the weapon in your hand, the crash as you like, and it's like you're sitting there with a little like I've got my bright pink Xbox controller. It's like, oh, yes.
Yes.
Die with my bright pink Xbox. I
So-
will get you and your little dog too.
Yeah.
So moving on from the overhype hypeness, then we have Just Dance, which is a cute little franchise, which, to their credit, has some cute stuff going on. Like when you're dancing, you can see the sample dancers dressed up as like a panda in a cowboy suit. Whatever, it's cute. It's inoffensive. It's entertaining. And the big news from that is that they've actually Ubisoft has realized that smartphone exists, and now you don't. For the new installation of Just Dance, you don't have to buy an expensive camera to attach to your console. You can use your smartphone as your camera.
So my iPhone camera.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a terrible camera, but
yeah.
it'll work.
And they're also adding a streaming service where you can get new songs, and that's
Watch-
about it.
Freeze halfway through.
Yeah. And oh yeah, and of course a new Assassin's Creed game, The Syndicate, set in London in 1867. You have a male character and a female protagonist, who, according to reports again from Laura K. Buzz, you can play her. About her missions consist about 1/3 of the game. So. And Ubisoft, of course, we have a female protagonist. And yeah, for about 1/3 of the game, I'm sorry, Bethesda did it better again.
And this is not to be mistaken for. I forget what the new version of Assassin's Creed Chronicles, is that what it's called? The ones that are coming out for India, Russia, and Japan.
Yeah.
They're sort of side scrolly, but they're telling completely different side stories to the Assassin's Creed universe. So at least there you have one that is a totally female protagonist running through that, and the other two are male. But shriveled
And-
black stalactites is all I can say.
Yeah.
All of us genuinely enjoy when having the choice to play a female character. In a female game. In a female game that statement didn't make sense. But I am a female, and I enjoy exploring the gaming world as a female because that's how I see the world, and I'm perfect. And that doesn't make me uncomfortable to play with a male as a little. It's a series of pixels, really.
Yeah.
But it's nice when people do try to put a girl in there. I'm like, oh hey,
Yeah.
there you go.
And it's not like you must put a female in every single game. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, if you want to tell a story dealing with a male character, tell it. But if you do, don't be so freaking cowardly as to say, "Oh well, we couldn't include a female in the game because it would have just taken too many resources like they did with Unity." Just say, "Well,
Yeah.
we didn't want to tell that story. We might tell it in the next game, and I will respect you more for that than say
Uh-huh.
resources, assets, animations." Ah!
Blah blah. And this whole the fact that one of their big things about it is it's a girl. Like that's it's so pandery and fake
And it's
and
like, yeah, and Bethesda's
like
going, "Oh yeah, and there's you can play as a female, whatever."
you can play as a female, whatever. And I was like, that is what I like. I like
Yeah.
having people go, oh yeah, and this is part of the game. Or if they just said the Syndicate London, and they were like, these are the three characters, and blah 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 is a guy, blah 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 is lives in whatever, and this person is a female who lives in whatever. And they didn't make a big deal out of it. It would feel a lot less like I am pandering. Look, look. And I'm one of the people who thinks that when gamers cry out for something and the companies listen to it and they actually change their games, that's oftentimes, not always, but it can be a really good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, it felt really disingenuous.
Yeah, and
Well,
honestly, here's the thing: if they could have had so many things to do with Unity, which took place, as we know, in the French Revolution, even just from history itself, David Marat was for those who. I'm sorry, Jean-Paul Marat. He was one of the leaders of the French Revolution, David. The reason I was thinking David is because the French painter David painted a portrait of Marat as he was dying, well, as he was already killed in his bath. And the person who killed him in his bath was Charlotte Corday, a woman who was a sympathizer, a monarchist sympathizer. So you have that historical event. You could have put a female character in Assassin's Creed be Charlotte Corday, who is actually an assassin, and she kills Marat. There you go. I've done your work for you, Ubisoft. Give me my paycheck.
I think it's a key thing, and again, this is one of those topics we could probably go into quite extensively. If you guys want
Yeah.
us to, then please send us a note. But I
Yes,
think it's
note
a key
us.
topic of when you are designing a game, look at your protagonist, or if your protagonist is his or her identity, if it is integral to the storyline, stick true to that design of that character.
Yeah, and
If
have the
this-
spine to say
yeah.
it.
If it is simply the concept of that character, for example, the Inquisitor, male, female, irrelevant. It is the Inquisitor. It is the position that is important. And you have the option to open it up to role play that position, then please, do
Think
it.
about it.
Make that an option. It's not just for inclusivity, but it is to some degree. But you don't have to go, oh, look, this one's got tits.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
Yeah.
Because no one goes, this one's got balls over here. So,
Yeah, and it like I said, it's just really disingenuous. It's very obvious. That means that you didn't choose it for any good reason. You just said, "Oh,
Tits.
tits, boobies. Look at them bounce as she climbs up the wall.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Pretty
Babies.
boobies."
So I mean, like I said, if the character in and of themselves is intrinsic and integral to your story, for example, Spider-Man. I'm going to just borrow Spider-Man for a moment. If you have a Spider-Man story, Spider-Man in and of himself is integral to the storyline. It's not simply Spider-themed hero, which could then be Spider-Gwen, Spider-Man,
I want a
Spider-Woman.
Spider-Gwen game.
It could be anyone if it's simply Spider-themed hero. But if it is Spider-Man, you're going to be playing a dude. I'm sorry, I hate
Yeah.
to tell you this. Unless
You're gonna be playing
unless
Miles,
it's a
you're gonna be
transgender
playing
thing, I
Miles
don't
Morales, whatever. Miles Morales, Peter Parker, whatever. You could have a Spider-Woman game too. So, and
know.
it
Or
would be Peter
Spider-themed
Parker.
hero.
Peter Parker. Peter Parker.
Peter Parkina. Peter Parkit. So, anyways, shall we move on to from Ubisoft?
Yes, from Ubisoft.
From Ubisoft
To good news.
to
Yes!
Microsoft HoloLens. Oh,
I had no idea I would ever say to good news, including Microsoft. That's just so foreign to me. But yes, Microsoft. Drew, tell us all about it, brother.
Oh my god, I'm drooling. I want it now. I have seen, Oculus Rift. Looking at it makes me nauseous, okay?
Yes.
So I could care less about the Oculus Rift. But when Microsoft rolled out the HoloLens, they had a camera feed from what you would be seeing in the lens showing up on the stage, and the guy was playing Minecraft, and you could zoom in, you could pick it up, move it around, and focus on something really hard and call down lightning on it, and I'm like,
It was basically augmented reality Minecraft, but to a degree that we have never seen augmented reality before, and it was goddamn beautiful.
Yeah. The thing that I'm super excited about from that presentation, the table.
The table. Yeah.
Drew, tell us about the table.
No, I'll let you talk about the table. I'm just dreaming.
Well, it basically ends up to the viewer, it looks like it's a 3D projection. You know how in TV people can go into those in this CSI things where for some reason they actually have money to do federal investigations, where they can reach in
48 hours or.
Yeah, so you can reach in and like play with the different holographic things. You can grab this and pull it out and do this and this. You can do that
The fact that
with Minecraft, and you can like zoom in. You can be like, "This is the world, and I'm down here, and look at this," and like pick up things and move them. And
yeah, he's
It
like.
was
When he launched it on the table, the table
I'm so
literally
excited.
opened up and the entire thing just went whoosh out of it. And
and the audience just about started screaming. They were so excited because
I was screaming in my apartment.
Oh yeah, we've seen this technology in TV shows for years, and everybody's like,
movies.
"I need this. I wish this was real. I want this to be real." And I, for one, have been told for years, we're gonna have holographic technology like that. I mean, sure, we're gonna have holograms, but they're not gonna be that awesome. Booyah! There it is! There it is! I can play Legos.
Cryers in your face.
I am so excited.
We're one step
I
away
want
from
it.
confusing raptors with holographic dinosaurs.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, I am so excited.
Not only
my
that, but
God.
you also need to know that I remember that link I showed you a little back ago that Google is working on sensor recognition using radars that can track the movement of your hands. And I joked, because they're working into integrating that into your house controls where you can do just like a little
Yeah.
movement and suddenly you change channels, etc. And I joke that Dancing Queen comes on, I start dancing, and then 10 minutes later I have like set the house on fire, the cat is trapped in the refrigerator,
Yeah.
and my freezer is defreezing, defrosting. But imagine that combined with the technology we just saw. You could actually be able to do fine tuning and fine manipulation in the world with just your
Instead of having
hands.
to click to play something, you just go, I need dirt,
Yeah,
dirt.
dirt. And so that would be so awesome. And
need to pick this part of my
Microsoft
house
showed
up
it.
and move it
It's
over
there.
here.
And we were able to see this in real time. He had I forget who she was.
Yeah, he had one of his counterparts up there was playing on her tablet, I think it was.
on her Surface. On her Surface.
tablet,
And
Surface,
so he
or
was.
whatever.
They were interacting. He was on his little HoloLens, and she was on the tablet, and they were working together. And it was beautiful.
And he got to zoom in on where she was, and she got into this little minecart and literally rode the minecart, and the thing just went followed her along.
Actually, there was a game called Robin Hood that was created. Remember the Populous games?
Yes.
The arena moved like a Populous game. You had the square in which the scene was projected, but as it moved away, but it stayed consistent within the arena. It was like playing a Populous game. So I am so excited. I mean, it's good that I can actually be excited about something from Microsoft. I know people have been saying that Windows 10 is going to be the shit. I do not believe it because
It'll be some shit.
it will be some shit. But
Yeah.
I'm like, thank goodness, Microsoft, good work. Keep doing more of this.
Now,
and
hopefully, it doesn't cost $2,000.
well, that too.
I'm one of the people who when they were announcing this Oculus stuff and the virtual reality, and I was like, that's gonna be not as much fun as people think it will be. But no, I'm completely wrong.
But now,
To
yeah,
me,
I was totally wrong
Oculus
there.
Rift is like playing with a ViewMaster on my head.
yeah.
I'm
It's like
not going to do it. It's just going to make
it's
me
like
ill.
playing with a Virtual Boy, and we know how well that went.
Yeah.
All right.
But I look forward to this. Yes.
So we're going to wrap up our E3 coverage now and move on to some other topics real quick to finish this off. Windborne, I'm so sorry. Windborne had been in my Steam wish list for
Steam wishlist.
my Steam wish list went from 54 games to 30 something. I'm sorry. But it had been in my Steam wish list, and I was noticing the other day that it no longer had a notice to it no longer had a price on it. I'm like, oh, is it free now? What the hell? And I went and looked, and no, it's not free. It's discontinued.
It is no
So
more.
I am, with a heavy heart, announcing that Windborne is gone. They
It's sad
determined
because it looked so
it
interesting.
was cute, a little game, and I mean, they're giving away for those who attempted to back it. They're giving away something or other, other copies of I guess the previous version of it and some other games. It's just that I'm sad that if anyone's out there who has a copy, because if you backed it, you get like 3 more copies to give away. Give me a
Give it to
copy.
us. And me too.
And Mouse wants a copy.
I
So
want a
if anyone's out
copy.
there and has one, send them to us. We'll be your friends.
We'll be your friends. We'll
Forever.
bring you on the cast and make fun of you.
This will be how Ubisoft pays us back.
Yeah.
So, with great lament, I say that Windborne, I will miss you. I'm sorry I never got the chance to play you.
Yeah,
But this brings us
sadness.
over to Cyboot.
Seaboot.
Cyboot.
All right. Long story short, Seaboot. Chris Crawford is an influential game developer who has, for about 20 years, been working on the concept of interactive storytelling. I'm not going to go into full detail because we're short on time, but I suggest that you pick up his book on Amazon on interactive storytelling. He is thinking of very revolutionary ways of actually changing the industry, and it's not just a flash in the pan. This is something he's been working on for 20 years. And Seaboot, Siboot, was the first game back in the 80s that incorporated some of his early ideas. And now he's starting a Kickstarter to to fully integrate his ideas into a newer version of the game. But not only that, once the game is finished, he plans to release the code as open source so game developers can integrate what they develop and what they find and realize into their own games in order to further the cause of true interactive storytelling technologies. It is currently on Kickstarter. It is currently being funded. I recommend that you go fund it because, mark my words, he might not make an impact right now, but the theories that Chris Crawford has been developing for 2 decades now will change the game industry. And in the little image that we have here, there's a little what? Well, I don't see the image. Okay, all right. It's a tinyurl.com/fundseaboot, and that is FUNDSIBOOT. I created a tiny URL. They didn't do it, but I figured it would be a fast way to get you over there. Go in there, take a look at the video, see what you think. I guarantee you, it's Chris Crawford is a fascinating person, and he deserves the funding.
Sorry for the unnecessary typage while I'm doing these because I only create graphics while doing this, and that still takes 2 to 3 hours worth of my day. I don't have a little minion that I can boss around as much as I want one.
La cucaracha.
So there it is. So if you want to fund it, there's your link. Go fund it. And aside from that, we're going to move away, spend our
From
last
games.
few minutes away from video games and give DC some credit because we've been harsh on DC of late.
Yes, we have. I have,
Well,
basically.
and so we're going to give them some credit for some good storytelling. I'll go
Oh,
first real
yes.
quick with Earth to Society. This is a game, not game.
I'd
This,
play a game with the Earth to Society.
yeah, this is a comic book series that comes directly out of Convergence, with Earth 2 being recreated, and for the various people who were evacuated off of Earth 2 before it was destroyed by Apocalypse. They are actually called back to Earth, and there are only 13 ships that survived the escape, and none of those ships were apparently designed to land. And when they're called back to Earth 2, they're all but one of them start to go down, but they're all not designed to land, so they start crashing. So Green Lantern Alan Scott runs around and tries to save all of them, and this is told simultaneously from that point of view and also 1 year later, when the people who have landed now or crashed or whatever are trying to rebuild their society. And there are, because this is a brand new planet, there are now literally only basically, I'm assuming, 12 cities,
Mm-hmm.
one for
Hmm.
each of the crash landed ships. And there would be an inordinate number of superheroes now per population, considering the superheroes were also on those ships.
Hmm.
So we now have Dick Grayson, who somehow has regained his ability to walk because, back,
He took
breaking
a trick
things
from
are
Barbara
just
Gordon.
flesh wounds to DC. But we're going to give him
Barbara
the credit
Gordon.
that's,
No.
that's due.
Yeah.
It's a good story. And he's now the Batman, and they're hunting down someone from the 13th ship. But I won't go into too much detail. But it is an extremely interesting storyline. I'm very, very intrigued by it, and I really want to see where it goes because this is the first time I've read a Earth 2 story where I felt there's some bit of hope.
That's rare nowadays with DC,
Hmm.
Now, so I
but
give you the rest.
well,
Maybe they watched our broadcast.
maybe they watch our broadcast. If so, Dan Didio, call me. I have some ideas for the Titans. Call me. But so following Convergence, DC moved towards what they call a more creator-centric, creator-driven content with a looser continuity. And out of that, we have the Starfire reboot, number one. It's not really a reboot because they do acknowledge that her tenure with the Red Hood and the Outlaws happened, but that is quickly forgotten, and thank goodness it is. The comic uh, the comic is adorable. They do play Starfire as the newcomer alien fish out of water, very naive thing, but it actually works because it's Starfire. It goes back to how friendly Starfire used to be before she
Yes.
was rebooted into like a sex crazed nymphomaniac.
That's
Um,
something that always bugged me because their thing was, oh, she's an alien. She has different sexual morals. Does
yeah,
she just have sex with everyone? And I was like, I mean, I'm not going to argue with that can be part of her character, but that's her only defining
pretty
characteristic right
much.
now. Calm
Or it
down.
used to
Oh
be.
my
And here's the thing:
God.
Starfire, yeah, they did have a more a different approach to emotions. Her whole backstory back in the Wolfman era is that the Tamaranians were more emotional driven than reason driven, and they were more amorous. But and it was treated, okay, this is what she does. She's very friendly. She's
Yes.
very loving. She's very kind, and being intimate is not really. A taboo in Tamaran, but it's not like they're raging nymphomaniacs running all over the place. It's like I must have sex.
Yes.
Like I haven't had sex in 5 minutes. I mean, I'm late for my quota. Come on, dudes,
Yeah.
where are you?
Wait for my
Um,
quota.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's because like I'm all for sex positive feminism. I do think that both men and women are fine being able to say, well, I'm sexually active and it's what I want to do, and that's it. But there's a difference between that and there's a difference between writing the character as basically being there to fulfill your sexual fetishes and then
Mhm.
saying, oh no, she's a liberated woman, or he's an independent man. It's like, no, bullshit, you're using them for wank factor.
Yes.
So they're moving away from that, and that's so good.
Yay!
And Starfire 1 is promises so much, so I'm really happy, DC. Keep it up. There's also, oh my god, um, Harley Quinn and Power Girl number one.
Yes.
They're stranded in a forgotten dimension in the homeworld of the amorous warlord Vartox, and it's freaking hilarious. And this is based on a throwaway. Um, I guess it wasn't a throwaway at the time. In Harley Quinn number 12, when Harley is flirting with Ivy, she said, "Oh, by the way, I was, I was Power Girl. I was Power Girl's sidekick up in space." And Harley Quinn and
It
Poison Ivy
happened between the
says,
panels.
"Yeah." She said it happened between the panels. I'm like, "What?" And this is actually that, and it's so hilarious. It fills me with hope because it's again DC trying to be true,
Irreverent.
irreverent and true to its roots and funny and but it's not all about that though, DC. They want to tell interesting stories like We Are Robin, and I'm so going to snatch We Are Robin, where basically teenagers in Gotham start wearing the Robin insignia, and they start moving as a group, acting as Robin. So that sounds really fascinating, and I want to read that.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
And I didn't think I was going to be into Bat Chappie, which is basically, the new Batman with Commissioner Gordon being in the Batman mechanical suit funded by the Gotham City Police Department.
Yeah.
But I read the issue, and I read it skeptically, and I went, I'm in. I actually like what's going on here. I didn't think I was going to, and you sold me. Good job. I'm going to keep reading because I'm interested. And they're doing. Oh God! And I read Justice League #1, and it's fantastic. It's such a breath. I mean, the story has some plot holes, but who the heck cares at this point? They're actually telling an adventure story, and the art is gorgeous. The writing is good, not great, and it has holes, but it's a step in the right direction. So at this point, DC, you're starting to do well. Your Superman sucks ass. I'm sorry, Superman sucks ass right now. So I don't know what you need to do, but whatever you're doing over here, do it over there. Okay, do it over there. Because I'm loving it. I'm really loving it. Please, please, DCU the Titans, because they need it, and I love the Titans. And right now they suck. The preview for #9 makes me want to continue not buying it. So please do something like We're Robin with the Titans, or I don't know. But I like the spirit of what's going on right now. Keep it up. Try to make it more.
And,
and
oh, great.
and yeah, and upgrade. Continue upgrading what you're doing. And so there's the positive. And this week's negative, outside of the fact that Superman sucks, it's minor, but it needs to be called out. And that is the Wonder Woman uniform.
Both here and in Gods and Monsters.
Gods and Monsters. Well, yeah. Well, in Gods and Monsters, they went for a more apocalypse, new gods look because they decided that the way they were telling the story, the Greek mythology didn't really work. So instead, Diana is now linked
Orion's.
to
Yeah.
the new gods. So yeah, that makes sense. The top kind of doesn't make sense because it looks like something Emma Frost would have put together, and I mean, I know that this is a different kind of Wonder Woman,
She's a
but
slut.
well, it's not.
She's
No,
a slut. Let's be honest.
She
In that
likes Steve
5 minute
Trevor.
thing, when they finish the battle and Steve Trevor's like, "What now?" And she's like, "Mm-hmm." He's like, "Am I going to need a safe word?" I didn't need that.
I'm sorry. I would totally do Steve Trevor.
Yes, but
Battle. Come on. You're like, we've just saved the world. You and me. Come on, right now. This is our victory lap, bitch.
I'm like going, "Damn, girls, a little bit of self control, just a little."
Well, again,
Right here
she's
with the giant robot staring at you, really?
that's skinky. No, I mean, she's a new god. You know that the new gods have not. They're not
No
exactly.
inhibitions whatsoever.
Well, yeah, they have no restraints. You're talking about people who are drunk on their own power. So inhibitions, restraint, they're very impulse driven. Every single new god, even Orion, especially Orion.
Especially Orion.
Orion tries very hard not to be a new god. Basically, he tries very hard. He fails a lot of time, but part of what makes his character endearing is I want to do things right now and be violent, and I'm trying. Okay, I'm not gonna do it. Rah, I'm not gonna do it. Rah. So,
I still
so
like the on that particular note. I still like the encounter he had with Diana back.
yes,
A
when
while
she
back.
told him, "I'm gonna rip these off if you do that again."
Uh huh.
So, I mean, I can see that. I can see Diana as a new god. Basically going, "I just saved the world. You're half naked.
Let's get all
There's
naked.
nobody here. There's nobody here.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's fall in love."
Yeah, that didn't bug me one bit. That part, you know. It's like,
I
okay,
did get bugged by
whatever.
the fact that they're going to be doing it in front of like Giganta's staring eyes, but
Like that was a little weird, but I can get over it.
yeah, I'm like, look away from Giganta, just look at Steve. Okay, hi Steve.
Well, see, I would have laughed if the eye suddenly went, "Ooh,"
Yeah.
They should have done that.
or a
They
little
should
bit
have
more
done
smoke came out.
that would have killed it. So outside of that outfit, we have the new outfit that was
Standing Barter's
debuted
closet, yeah.
in Wonder Woman 41, which is still unfortunately being written by Meredith Finch, and it's still being drawn by David Finch, and it's not. I have to be honest. It is not as awful as the first arc was. It's still pretty bad. I mean, it's it has moved from awful to not terrible, and it might move into
Mediocre.
mediocre. But it's not, the book is not working really, and
Yeah.
I guess they DC wanted to listen to the fans who were complaining that Wonder Woman was clad in a bathing suit, um,
Hmm.
and so they came
That
up
she's been
with.
clad in since the 40s,
Well, no,
50s.
Yeah.
no. The 1940s, she did not have a bathing suit. In the original 1940s, she was wearing bloomers, which is basically it's like a skirt, but they're tied around the thighs so that you can open your legs and they look like pants. But when you keep your legs closer together, they look like a skirt. So it was actually a lot. It was very practical for female wear of the day, and it didn't look bad. But and instead of the boots, she was wearing those ballerina type sandals, so they looked like the Greek sandals tied around the calves.
Well, I'm going to
Hmm.
be honest. Looking at the new outfit, I saw the critique that somebody made on your post on Facebook,
Hmm.
and I actually am. Although there are still Big Barda esque elements in it, I'm what I'm looking at is I'm thinking I see the black body outfit, and I'm like, that's Troya's outfit.
Yes, it is,
Yeah.
and
So
that's one of the things that bothered me actually.
I'm convinced that they're basically going to share a closet, and Troya's like, I'm just going to take this and run off.
Yeah, well, it's here's the thing. When you redesign a costume, you want to err on the side of simplicity because sleek design, um, easy lines to look at are always better. First of all, because you're going to be drawing that shit every single panel. So if you have an overload, if you have an overloaded outfit, you're going to end up going, "Why the fuck did I design this? Oh my god, do I have to draw this again?"
Is that like the
Um,
Squaresoft Batman that Jim Sterling was talking about with the
yes, the
angles on
points
top
on
of
points on
Yes.
angles
points. Yes,
and points
exactly.
half points?
And that's
Hmm.
the kind of design you saw coming out of the 90s when the school of extreme was like, I'm going to make this, I'm going to give him 6,200, 5,000 million pouches around his waist and everywhere. But we grew out of the 90s. It was a nice experimental phase, but now we remember the things that Michelangelo used to say. The artist, not the turtle. That
Cowabunga, dude.
manga dude, beauty was the purgation of the superfluous. And so when you want a costume, you want to create an iconic costume, you want to make it a simple design that is eye-catching and that flows well. With this costume, it looks like Diana was in yoga class, and then she hastily put on her top and her go-go boots, apparently, because now they're thigh-high go-go boots.
Yeah, I'm not
And
saying
then she
this.
borrowed Big Barda's like pointy loincloth and Booster Gold's shoulder pads, and then grabbed Wolverine's claws and went out to fight goodness knows what. So it's a mess. It doesn't have a unified look. It doesn't even have a unified color theme because the bodysuit is black with white, but the bustier is back to the red with the gold. So what the hell is going on? I think that if DC really wanted to give fans an alternative to the bathing suit look, Cliff Chang, when he and Brian Azzarello started doing the Wonder Woman series, Chang created, the new look for Diana, which was basically the more modified bustier, and it was silver, red, and dark blue. And as a tangent, I think the silver actually works better for Wonder Woman for one very small reason. Artemis, Diana, after whom Wonder Woman is named, is a goddess of the hunt, but she's also a goddess of the moon. She's associated with the moon, and the moon, the metal that people associate with the moon is silver. So it makes a lot more sense for Diana to have silver, and I think it's a classier look. But in any case, Cliff Chang, the first design he made, had pants. It was basically the Wonder Woman look, but she had pants and it went into her dark blue and white boots, and it looked good. Of course, at the time, DC nixed that and said, you have to show the bare legs.
Hmm.
But if they really wanted to cover Diana up, then just use the Cliff Chang design. It's simple, it's elegant. Instead, and just throw that over. And this actually, I think
She's
that they
overdressed, quite
she's
honestly.
overdressed, and I think I think DC did this on purpose. Every time anyone complains about a classic outfit, what DC usually does is they commission an artist to create the most preposterous, excessive costume, roll that out as a new costume, have that last a few dozen issues, or if that, and then when fans are finally tired of the oversaturated look, they bring back the classic costume, and it's like, see, everybody likes the classic costume. So that's what they're doing.
But as we said, we're giving DC the points that they deserve for the goodness. We're taking them to task on some of the things that are still needing some work, but we are very, very, like, within a minute and a half away from the end of our show.
Yes.
So we're not going to talk movies this week. Next week we'll probably come back with some movie topics. But
Yeah, Cece and I are gonna see Inside Out.
I am so excited.
Yes!
I don't know why, but it just looks so much fun.
It does.
And so, guys, sign off. Aside from your plans for the week, your video, your movies, anything, go.
I'm going to play more of The Witcher.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I've got a job interview
Yes!
Tuesday for more than just my regular church job. By the way, I started my church job today. I was feeling very good about myself. I was leading the music for the service, and I finished the first hymn. I was like, yes, and I folded up my hymnal, and I started to walk off and slammed right into a wall. In front of the entire congregation. It was beautiful.
Praise the
Keep in
Lord.
mind, my first day leading the service. I was like, yes.
Yes!
This is my life.
That's when you go, I meant to do that. I wanted
yeah.
to test the integrity of the walls.
I just kept going. I actually just, like, walked along the wall. Because I didn't really know. I was like, eh!
Oh, God. Let's see. I'm going to continue playing some of the games that I bought. I'm going to continue working on the reference sheets for my upcoming digital comic. And on Sunday, I am a featured artist at the local opera guilds. The last Sunday of the month, they invite artists to perform for the population of the town, and it's a very popular event. And I've been asked to be one of the feature artists, so I'm going to sing.
So if anybody knows where Mouse and I live,
Come see us.
come see us. Come see us sing. Well, I'm not singing this time, but
Oh yeah, but we're also Cece and I are going to take part of a really cool vocal arts festival
yes.
too. And I just got an email from you know who, and she has asked what kind of scenes we want to do. So we get to call the shots. So haha.
Oh my God, we actually got to pick our own music for.
Yeah. Oh my God, yes.
Lives.
Lives, yes.
That's fascinating. I actually don't know what to do with that. I'm like, I just follow orders most of the time.
And for my part, I didn't completely finish Thief. The last boss battle eluded me. But considering it is probably a whopping 10 minutes worth of filming, I'm not going to go ahead and restream that. So if I do defeat her, I will probably just put it up on YouTube somewhere along with my kill sessions, because Mouse likes to tell me I'm still doing it wrong, but I still say if they're dead, that's not stealing, technically. So, and so this week, Monday, will be a continuation of Aeon, because it is still MMO Monday's topic, with the new expansion of Upheaval. I've seen one of the new zones, but I didn't do too much in it because I'm still too low of a level. But you're still welcome to come out and join me. And this week, we'll be playing Bastion for the first time ever. So Tuesday night, you'll get to see my first reaction of going, what the hell is this? And we will be back with our next podcast on Saturday at our normal hour.
Yep.
So, again, thanks everyone for coming out. Thank you to our 2 new followers, Acharky and Anime Heroes Yex. And as always, if you like what you see here, hit the magic follow button down below. Come out and join us more often. And we will see you guys later. And as always, if you have any topics you want us to discuss, send me or Mouse a note.
You want to say something, CC?
I was just going to add that.
Oh, okay, never mind.
You can add it again if you want.
Tell us things.
Tell us. We may
right.
not listen sometimes, but we always listen.
We always listen. We may not respond, but we always listen. All right. Peace out, y'all.